Hi you guys, my name is Olivia. Welcome to my channel. I'm a stay-at-home mom to 3. I have a 6th grade son and I also have a 2nd grade daughter and a 2-year-old daughter. I talk homeschool things, mommyhood things, lifestyle things. Today I have another curriculum review. Today it is through what we have been using for my 2nd grader for language arts, and it is Purposeful Design. When I was looking for something for language arts for her, I wanted to not have to do multiple pieces. I was really looking for an all-in-one. If I needed to meet her needs elsewhere by piecing it together, that's fine, because that's what I've almost always done the entirety of our homeschool journey with my eldest. But I found one through Purposeful Design for my daughter, and I am so happy with it this year. If you want to hear why I will not be using this curriculum next year for her in 3rd grade, I will go over that at the end, but it's not because I don't like the curriculum or there's something wrong with it. Okay, so I am going to get into it. When I say that this is all-in-one, it is all-in-one. There is phonics, literature, spelling, vocabulary, grammar, and writing. It really covers top to bottom everything that you could need in a language arts curriculum. There are a few things that I didn't love about the curriculum, and I will go into that, but just to cover a few things in the beginning. So this is a Christ-based curriculum. There are mentions of the Bible stories, people that you find in the Bible. There are sometimes verses that you use or stories from the Bible that you use as examples, especially to describe the vocabulary and using the vocabulary in a sentence and in its context. Though while I say that, I did think that there was going to be more, a more Christ first emphasis on this. I would say that 85% of the curriculum, you don't run into anything mentioning the Bible, Jesus, Christianity, etc. So if you look through these samples online or through the rest of this flip through, I also plan on doing at a later date a follow along a lesson with us for my daughter. Then there are definitely ways that you could use this where I wouldn't be able to say that with other curriculum, omitting any of the Christianity parts. I think that they're used really beautifully and tactfully, and I actually wish that there was more, but for those of you out there looking for something strictly secular, this is not it. Okay, right off the bat, one of the things I want to say about this curriculum is that it is written for a classroom. In the teacher's guide, when you're teaching the different concepts, it does ask, for you to put your kiddos into small groups or with a partner and do this, come up to the board, have the class recite, etc. So I would say if you are newer to teaching homeschool, this might be a difficult curriculum to navigate in teaching for your kiddos. There are lots of great curriculum out there that are sometimes made for like group teaching. And so in my experience, I have found ways to make the curriculum work for just my solo kiddo and I that are learning. It's not all that difficult, but it is a little bit of a journey to figure that out. And I would say it's heavy in all of the different aspects when you're teaching from this curriculum. Often it wants you to read through sentences or find different words or what have you, work through those things with people at your table, a neighbor, what have you. If you have been homeschooling for any amount of time, you know that sometimes it can be irritating to run into curriculum that it teaches from that point of view. It's not hard work, but it's just annoying enough where I had to bring it up that I do not love that about this. And it also did not scream classroom made, like made for classroom teaching. When I downloaded the samples, it also was not super evident how heavy it was. So when I do my flip through and I do my lesson video, maybe that will give you a better insight so that you can gauge whether or not that's something that is too much of a con for you to take on this curriculum or not. I did want to share that it is made for classroom work, and that is one of my cons when it comes to this curriculum. Something that kind of ties into that is another one of the cons for the curriculum, but also just something in general that I feel like you should know if you are looking to take on this curriculum or use it in your homeschool, is that there are a lot of moving pieces. So when I got this curriculum, I purchased this curriculum along with the student workbook. So this implements all of everything but spelling in here. I didn't realize that there was another spelling component that I could get so I went through our whole first week, and then I ran into week 2 and it said, give this spelling test. And I was like, spelling test? And so I looked in the back and then where all of the spelling lists are, and I realized that there was a whole other spelling component that you can get, and my daughter loves spelling. So when she realized there was a spelling option and not just spelling list tests, then she asked if she could get the spelling curriculum too. We got this, we started implementing it. We went back and she did the older ones. The good thing about the spelling is that it ties along with the phonics portion of the week and the lessons. So when you go over OU words, almost all of the spelling words follow OU, or like insert whatever rule you're teaching for phonics. Those are the words that align with what you're spelling, which I love that. If you are a parent who has used different spelling pieces in your homeschooling in the past, sometimes spelling curriculums can be really redundant and really boring and just lists. I like that this is a little bit more, it just ties in with the curriculum as a whole and it doesn't seem like its own separate thing. I will say, if you're not interested in the language arts like as a whole, but you are looking for a full-on spelling curriculum, they also offer their own separate full-on spelling curriculum. And it looks like a very in-depth, heavy piece. But if that's something you're looking for, then they offer that too. Another thing that is lots of moving pieces is also, again, how it kind of ties into the fact that this is classroom based, is that there are a lot of worksheets, which I was not expecting, because when I purchased this and I was purchasing the student workbook, I figured all of the things that the student would need to use paper-wise was going to be included in the workbook. It's not. And so then when I was reading through the curriculum and trying to prep for the week to come or what have you, it would say, you know, print out this, this, and this from this file, and this, this, and this from that file. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna print them all at once and flip through what I have in some sort of file folder and pull it out when I need it, until I opened the files and I realized that there are something that they called black line masters, and there are 641 pieces to that, along with something that they call digital masters, and there are 282 of those. So those are separate worksheets, or they also include, like, each vocabulary word has a picture on the piece of paper that has the vocabulary word at the bottom that connects with the vocabulary word. So you could put those up in your classroom, on your whiteboard, what have you. They do teach some of the grammar with little songs, like about nouns, about adjectives, what have you. So there are printouts for those. I just did not realize there was going to be so many pieces. So there's that. I did not print them all out at once, especially when I started using the program and I realized that I was not going to be teaching everything that they had laid out every single day to teach. And so I wake up in the morning, I look at what we're doing and I choose what we're doing, and then I go print out those 2, 3, sometimes 5 different pieces and printouts that day. Also, there's a manipulatives kit or a hands-on kit that the company does sell for you to use, which are different craft supplies, like game pieces, things like that. I think phonics cards are maybe included in that. I will say, if I had found this curriculum and decided to use it starting in kindergarten, I might have gone forward with purchasing it. It is hundreds of dollars. And it's definitely things that if you want to do those activities that you can find around your house or sub in for something else that you have at home already, I would not. But there is that also that goes along with the moving pieces that I was mentioning. So it's a lot of parts to this if you want to do it how it is laid out, top to bottom. And I definitely don't. So when I was looking for a language arts curriculum, most of them come with phonics, which I think is really, really cool. I did not need phonics for my daughter. We have moved on from using any sort of phonics program. We were using Logic of English Foundations, and we used through C, and we were done with C like beginning of her first grade year or so. And so I will say I love that program. I highly recommend that program to everybody who is looking for a phonics program, especially starting from the beginning. I will say in going through these lessons that the way that they lay out phonics is really cool and super effective. And it's very similar to how Logic of English taught as far as the science behind the sounds in pieces, like in the phonograms and putting letters together and sounds together and the rules that apply with phonics. So I would be interested to look through the kindergarten and the first grade book also and look at how phonics is laid out that way. If you are starting in kindergarten for this program, I wouldn't know what kind of advice to give you or where to give you a heads up, except that where it is in the second grade program, it looks really awesome. I do not plan out using the phonics pieces in here as far as I was not looking for that in a language arts package in general, but there have been times that I have opened up the lesson book and I saw the different activities that they had you doing for phonics, and I have implemented them here and there when I know it's been a little while since we touched on that certain rule. I apply them as I feel like it's necessary, and I do enjoy using the way that it's set up. We also don't use the literature program because I had purchased the second grade enrichment program through Memoria Press for read alouds. But if you were looking to not have a whole separate curriculum for that, but still implement something like picture books, they have that in here, and I did not realize that they had it in here, and it is really, really beautiful. All of the different picture books that they have set up through here are lovely books, and they have many literature guides for each one of them. So each week comes with its own book, and then in the back of the book, I'll show you that in the flip through, they do have some different questions to ask your student as you go along with the book throughout the week. There are also activities that go along with those literature guides as well. So part of me wishes I would have realized that so that I could take advantage of that. Again, so it's just all in one and it's already here, and the books look really beautiful, but you typically can't go wrong with Memoria Press and their enrichment guide specifically. I love it. I have a whole video about that and I will link it up above and below. But if you were looking for that, this has that too. To go along with phonics and to round out the reading aspect specifically, this program also, which also I guess ties into all of the moving parts that I was explaining earlier, it also comes with readers. So on grade read alouds specifically for the student to be reading. So it's not the same thing as the literature, like the enrichment literature if you were wanting picture book read alouds. It's the little readers that help reinforce the phonics program here. I can't attest to the quality or content or anything in those because I didn't purchase those. Again, we didn't need that aspect of this program, but they offer that as well. So going into the whole language and writing portion of it, specifically the grammar and writing, that part is the meat of what I was looking for and what I was impressed with what I saw in the samples. And since moving forward with this curriculum, the grammar and the writing. The grammar is taught in such a fun and approachable way. When you learn a new part of speech for grammar, so that's going to be your nouns, your verbs, your adjectives, etc. They teach it to you with a little tune, and the song is to the tune of nursery rhymes that I'm assuming at least my kiddos were, that probably many children are familiar with. And so it's an easy way to remember the rules and how you use it. And it's not just one lesson and you're done. They teach the lesson, I would say, in a mastery style. They teach that part of speech in a mastery style. And then they also often tie that into the writing. So they'll ask you to look out for this and underline it in a certain way or whatever. And that's also reinforced in the student workbook as well. And then you move on to the next part of speech and it will teach it. And then within that part of speech, they will also pull back in the first one that you used, et cetera, all the way down the line. And then it also explains how to use commas, how to use quotation marks, the different types of sentences that you'll find and how to recognize those. And just this last week, we went into contractions. So how to contract and what it means to use the apostrophe and what it is you're looking at in a word when you read the word don't. You're actually looking at do not, wouldn't, and the rules that go along with that. So the grammar is in depth. A lot of it is, this isn't gonna be something that you could like just, hey kiddo, I want you to do this work and go away and have them do it independently and come back. It is a lot of back and forth, teachers sitting down, writing things on whiteboards, waiting for responses. Okay, well now what about in this instance, sort of thing. There are some things where there's an activity I know that she doesn't need instruction in, and I'll put it up on the big whiteboard in the room, and I'll come back and then see what she did and we'll discuss it that way. But there is a lot of teacher-student instruction back and forth going on here. Okay, within the writing is done really well, and it's really gentle along with being super instructive. And it also does not expect above and beyond, I feel like, the second grade level. So I had not asked my daughter to write at all for kindergarten and first grade, other than some copy work, just so she could, and handwriting, like a handwriting curriculum. So those oftentimes also had her do copy work, but I was not expecting her to put together sentences, even though a lot of first grade curriculums are asking that. And I went through writing with my oldest and expecting a certain level of work with writing where I realized it was taking the joy out of writing. And I hear from, and I listen to so many videos and hear so many homeschoolers also say their kids struggle with writing, which I feel like if it is pushed too early and it is made into such an incredible chore to do, that they don't wind up understanding or using the mechanics that they're supposed to. And also it is really difficult to write a good sentence if you don't understand grammar and how a sentence is composed, all of the pieces that go along with that. So especially along with how the grammar is taught here, I will teach grammar and then we'll go into writing. And it has been super smooth and gentle and instructional, and I really love the way it's done. And it doesn't seem like empty and a nonsense piece to write. And they're not expecting them to come up with like these huge paragraphs and all of these stories right off the bat either. And if they are asking for the kiddo to write like a short story or what have you, the rubric does not include you being super strict on the things that they're actually not ready for yet. It's really just a way to brainstorm, which that is one of the very first things that they start with writing, and they spend a couple weeks on it, is brainstorming and what it means to brainstorm and the different steps that go into brainstorming and how to apply that, take the ideas that you came together and put it into a sentence or put it into what have you. So like one of the weeks we went through like how to write, we went through writing a how-to instructions for something. So an example they give is writing instructions to someone on how to set a table. They talk often about the different senses and how that can be a really great descriptive tool to add to your writing also, is, you know, when you are composing something, and especially if it's meant to be some sort of personal piece of writing and not a formal piece of writing, to think about the different ways things taste, smell, or what they look like, etc. One week we went through creating posters and writing an advertisement for something. So when I say it's an approachable way of writing, it's very useful, and they find different activities to use in a way where the teaching the mechanics of writing and the pieces of writing makes so much more sense. You can actually see how it's used and why it's used. They're separated into different chapters. So each chapter is a 5-day work week, and within those 5 days you work on the piece of writing the entirety of the week. So it's not a whole lot of really fast changeover. And I will be honest, we did not do all of them because we are doing a lot this year, and I just have not done every writing for every one of the weeks. So I do feel like the rigor can be as much or as little as you are wanting for your specific homeschool and what you want your homeschool to look like, which I recommend in any curriculum that you pick up. I don't feel as if you're doing your kiddo a disservice and removing some things if you don't think it's needed. Okay, that was a lot of information to talk to you with. I'm sure some of that will be repeated again during the flip through as I'm finding things to show you and it's being emphasized. I will wrap up the review portion of this after the flip through portion of it. So look for that at the end, and I'm gonna give you the flip through of it now. Hi you guys, sorry for the interruption, and I really hate to do this, but I am not gonna have the flip through and the glance into the online portions of it in this video. So I recorded all of the pieces separately, and I had every intention of fitting all of that in at once in one video, but it honestly, I cannot edit it down to like much shorter than an hour. And I know that those sorts of videos are really unattractive to consume. And I think that there's some really great information about this curriculum in these videos and in what I want you guys to see and what I'm trying to share. And so I'm just not going to make an hour-long video. I'm gonna have a separate video for the flip through portion and also for looking through the online pieces of it. I am going to upload them at the same time. So while you're watching this, that one should absolutely also be available for you to watch. I'm going to be linking it up here. I'm also going to be linking it down below. And so there's going to be two portions to this video, and then I will get to the follow along lesson wise type video in another video. And I am so sorry to have so many pieces moving with this curriculum. I really feel like this will be a better way than uploading an hour-long video for you guys. So I'm sorry about that. Look for the other one if you're wanting to look inside. This one is just going to be my opinion and review. Okay, you guys, I know that this is going to be a long video. I know, but there is so much information in this curriculum. I would hate to rush through it and then you guys possibly purchase it on my recommendation and what I showed you and have missed something that would have made you reconsider in some sort of way. So there's a lot, and I know that curriculums are expensive. That's another con, I guess, in this review for me, is that this curriculum is expensive. So like this second grade year, I'm pretty sure it was $200. You're looking at $129 for the student, for the teacher, and then $25 for the, well, $26 for the student piece, so that's 150 something right there before taxes. If you're wanting to do the readers, then you're looking at $119 if you're wanting those read alouds. That was level 3 readers. If you're doing the second grade and you're wanting the level 2 readers, that's $119. And then the spelling notebook is $14. So it's expensive, which is another one of the cons for this curriculum. Not everywhere that you purchase from will accept returns once you get home and you look through it, and sometimes even looking through it is not enough to really identify whether or not it's working for you as a teacher, or especially for your student, your kiddo that you're working with. Sometimes you have to like get your fingers in there and spend time with it to recognize if it's a yes or no for your family, and that can be an expensive experiment. So, which moves on to when I mentioned why I will not be using this next year. What I loved about this was that it is one book, one teacher guide, and it has so much jammed into it. And then there's the one student book that goes along with it. There's the extra spelling if you're wanting to do spelling, and then there are the readers if you're wanting to do the readers. And then if you're wanting to purchase the literature read alouds, there is that as well. As far as just the schoolwork pieces, the lesson pieces, Purposeful Design decided for their third grade year, and I'm assuming up, to split everything. Purposeful Design is a piece that is connected to the Association of Christian Schools International. For the third grade year, they split it up between reading and literature, with a teacher edition for the reading and literature, and then the reading skills student workbook. And then there's also a second half. So then the language and writing is in a different one, which I am just not thrilled with. that if I'm wanting to use this curriculum and use all pieces of it, or choose what pieces of it I use, that I have to purchase both sets. Don't love that at all. Like I said, it's expensive. The textbook for the reading and literature portion alone for teachers is $162. The student edition for that piece is $34.22. So that's $200. And then if you're wanting to do the language and writing component, then it's $157.21 for the teacher, and it is $40.89 for the student one. So when I saw that, I kind of looked at it in dismay and decided, well, I'm not gonna do that then. So that's $400 something after taxes. I don't know what shipping is. Maybe if shipping is included, even if it's free. I know there are a lot of language arts curriculum out there that are that expensive, and probably if I pieced something together for third grade year, if I didn't have anything already that I could use to my arsenal, it probably would have wound up being that anyway. Also, that was such a big turnoff for me. I loved that everything was in just one teacher edition, and I could open it up and look through what I wanted to do during the day and pull it out instead of having multiple resources that I'm moving around all of the time. Not a fan of that. Not a fan of that at all. I have seen and I looked through the other homeschooling curriculum through ACSI, and that's the Mostos. I don't know how you say it. My dog is barking at the wind outside. And he's part beagle, so it might take him a minute to give that up. Okay, I'm gonna have to just talk through the barks. I have looked through different samples of that curriculum. It does look nice, and it looks like it has all of the language arts pieces just applied in a different way. I left it until now to decide, because the entire year I assumed I love this so much, I'm gonna just use this curriculum again this next year. I'm not spending all of that money and having all of those pieces moving around, which is okay, because if you've seen it in my past videos, I use the Michael Clay Thompson grammar and writing, and I use that from my son in third grade and started him off on the whole MCT journey in third grade. My daughter is definitely ready for that, especially thanks to the way that the grammar worked here in this curriculum. So I will be using that next year as far as her grammar goes, and I will just make up her literature otherwise. So the cons of this curriculum are all of the moving pieces, and that it's written for classroom. You have to navigate making it work for one student unless you have multiple students at the same grade level, but still a more intimate homeschooling situation environment. And then also the cost, it's expensive. If you have the means to purchase this curriculum, I highly recommend this curriculum. We had a lot of fun with it. I think it's extremely instructional and does such a good job of teaching kiddos. Like, we're talking about 7 and 8 year olds, and I think that it did a wonderful job of meeting those 7 and 8 year olds where they were with the information that it was wanting to teach. They do newly this year have up through 5th grade out, it's looking like. Again, it's split into 2 different things. You've got reading and literature and language and writing. From kindergarten through 2nd grade, it's 1 workbook, 1 student book. I know this was a really lengthy video. Thank you for being here for it. I hope that this was informative. I hope I covered everything that you guys might have questions about with the curriculum. If you're wanting any other opinions or clarity or have any other questions to ask, feel free to leave that down below. Also, are you guys familiar with this curriculum? Have you guys ever used this curriculum? I have not seen it. I have put it in the search bar in YouTube multiple times and nothing has popped up for me thus far. Obviously, YouTube is not the end all be all of how you find curriculum. There's other ways to find it. But have you heard of anybody else using this? Or are you a teacher and have you used this in your classroom before? Do you like it? Did you not like it? I think that those are really useful pieces of conversation that we can use so that when you are watching this, if you're interested in a curriculum, it just helps you in your toolbox a little bit more to make a decision on if you're gonna go forward with purchasing expensive curriculum for your family and your homeschool. So if there's no questions. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for being here for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.